Master of Ceremonies, Nathan Cassar.
Well, welcome to another electrifying episode of the Justice Plan TV and podcast show, where we dive deep into the world of weddings and uncover the secrets to crafting your perfect day. Now, I'm Nathan Cassar, your professional wedding MC and guide through the wedding wonderland. And today we have a true Melbourne marvel joining us, Peter Hordern, affectionately known as Pete the Celebrant. Now, Pete isn't your run-of-the-mill celebrant. He's a much-loved Melbourne marriage maestro who specializes in crafting authentic, easygoing wedding ceremonies. But that's not all. He's also the dynamic host of the Wedding Guide podcast, which I'd highly recommend you check out, where he shares invaluable insights into the world of weddings. When he's not masterfully officiating ceremonies, you can find Pete indulging in one of his many hobbies, from brewing beer and gin to tending to his beehives. That's so great. And let's not forget, he's a proud dad of 3 adorable girls. With a knack for blending light humor and heartfelt sentimentality, Pete has a unique talent for capturing the essence of your relationship. He's a pro at keeping ceremonies natural and authentic, ensuring that you and your guests feel relaxed and at ease as you celebrate your love. Today, Pete joins us to share his wealth of wisdom on all things wedding related. We'll uncover the secrets to picking the perfect celebrant, dive into the art of writing heartfelt vows, explore how to infuse your special day with personal touches, and discuss the invaluable role a good celebrant plays in crafting unforgettable moments. So, if you're ready to embark on a journey of wedding wisdom and discover the keys to crafting a day that's uniquely yours, you're in for a treat and in the right place. Pete, welcome to the show. How's it going?
Good. Thank you so much for having me. And geez, what an intro. I feel fantastic after hearing that.
I appreciate that. I feel like I need to do a bit of a montage at the end of the season. I've been blessed to have most of my guests say that, actually. So I have to get like a little montage, you know. Again, you know how it is. We're both celebrant MCs, and we're both we're masters of intros and outros and everything else in between. So I appreciate, and of course you deserve it. You're a very accomplished celebrant. I've also had the pleasure of being on your show as well, and your show is one of, I would argue, was probably one of the first podcasts for weddings in Australia out there. Am I wrong in saying that?
Look, it was, definitely wasn't the first. It might have been one of the first. There were a few out there, but yeah, it was definitely during COVID. I was like, I needed something to do. You know, we had all this time, and there's only so much Netflix you can watch. And I was like, this is something I can do, something I want to do. So I just started it, and yeah, it's been good.
How many episodes are you up to at the moment?
I'd say close to 90. We're definitely in the 80s, close to 90. Yeah.
Nice. You can do a big blockbuster 100th episode or something like that.
Yeah, that's definitely on the cards. In fact, I was just thinking about doing that as soon as you said it. I was like, we should do something pretty grand, but I don't know what that will be. It'll probably,
I don't know, maybe some sort of like grand giveaway, or give away a car or something. I don't know. I'm just,
of course. Well, yeah, it's been doing that well. Just give away a Tesla. Why not?
It's just like, here's my car. You can have my car. We don't need
here's a Tesla. Go for it. No needs. I just walk for the wedding. That's fine.
So I'm in Sydney, you're in Melbourne. People often perhaps may assume that the scene in Australia is relatively homogenous, but I mean, you and I both know that that's just not the case. There are definitely unique attributes about the Sydney wedding scene, the Brisbane wedding scene, and Melbourne, and so forth. So what would you say is for those of us perhaps curious looking outside in, and those who perhaps are obviously very close to you listening, in the Melbourne area of the world, how would you describe is some relatively sort of unique identifiers about the Melbourne wedding scene?
Unique identifiers. Well, we should probably start by saying maybe I brought a bit of Sydney to Melbourne when I moved here, and I don't think Melbourne would want to hear that. In fact, when I moved here, people were like, oh, what do you like more, Sydney or Melbourne? And I'm like, oh, I'm sort of just got here, and like, oh, it's probably Melbourne. And I didn't even realize there was a huge rivalry going between Sydney and Melbourne, but apparently there is. But I'm still here, so take from there what you want. In terms of the differences, I think there's probably going to be more beach weddings, I would say, in Sydney. Just from that's my thought. I I don't know how substantiated
Oh,
that
you're not
is.
wrong. I just did one on the weekend.
Yeah.
So, yep,
Okay. Yeah.
absolutely.
Look,
Yeah.
I'm just thinking of what you've got available, and I think the biggest differences between Sydney and Melbourne. I see Sydney as this. It's big. It's bold. It's beautiful. Look at me. I have a giant bridge, and I have an opera house. We have fantastic beaches, and the beaches are just phenomenal.
Mm.
And then we've got Melbourne. Melbourne's like, we've got incredible place. We've got great wineries that aren't that far away. We've got a bay if you want to get married near the water. We've got really cool, funky underground bars you can get married in, or really rustic, breweries. So and I know there'd be both in both cities as well. I feel like Sydney has probably more your weather dependent, outside, more enjoyable in that aspect, beachy type, but I could be wrong. I don't really do
No,
weddings
you're
in
not off
Sydney.
base there. Yeah, no,
Okay.
yeah.
But I find majority of, at least the weddings I can speak to what I do, I would say easily it's like 50% wineries, vineyards. You're either in a chapel there or you're outside and just enjoying the rolling hills with the vineyards, or you're inside in a either something really rustic or with something quite modern, or maybe with a bit of a halfway in between, sort of that touching on that rustic but with modern touches, to get married inside.
Because I have noticed, so obviously I follow you quite closely, and I love all your content, and your weddings are obviously extraordinarily great to watch, and I encourage all listeners to go check out Pete on Instagram. I've noticed you do. I mean, we do a lot of garden weddings up here as well, but I've noticed there's a very, very big percentage of your ones are those beautiful outside garden type weddings, which I know for a fact is becoming one of the biggest trends of venue choices for this year. What is it that you love about? What is it, like one unique thing that you just love about those kind of weddings? Because you seem to do quite a lot of them.
Yeah, I do seem to do a lot of outdoor weddings. So I did one a couple of weeks ago where I was at the Carlton Gardens, and that's near the exhibition centre. And that's a very, very popular spot. You've got just beautiful trees lined up there. Most have their reception at a venue called St Andrew's Conservatory, which is just about a 10-minute walk down the road. Again, that's sort of very modern. It's a glass ceiling. It's gorgeous. Then you've got like literally a bar attached to it as well. Though I guess in terms of what I love about garden weddings, well, as long as the weather is good, that's going in Melbourne, you just got to have a plan B. So definitely book your wedding somewhere beautiful with a great view, gardens, vineyards, whatever you want. Just have a plan B just in case. What I love about the outdoor ones, I don't know, you're in nature. It's free. It's beautiful. In fact, what I liked most about having the one in Carlton Gardens is it was actually in a really public area, which might sound weird. It's like, don't you want something more intimate? And like, you do. They had probably 80 to 100 people there in chairs lined up. But as someone, presenting, and as someone getting everyone, not getting them excited, but, helping set the tone for the day, it was speaking to all the guests who were there, but it was also including the thousands of people watching or just walking past as well. And that actually brought a really beautiful depth to it. So not every wedding can be like that unless you have quite a public spot. I find most will be in the garden of a vineyard with, again, looking over those rolling hills, and that's, I don't know, it's something pretty just serene about that. How's the serenity,
For anyone listening overseas, check out the movie.
Oh yeah, if you're overseas, check out the castle. Yeah, you'll either love it or not understand it.
Exactly. I think there's no happy medium with that whatsoever.
There's no medium there. No,
very Australian.
Very.
Look, I totally resonate with everything you just said, and I personally, when I get to do weddings like that too, they're incredible. But it is an interesting point that you mentioned about that exposure, and I noticed that there. I think, again, speaking about no happy mediums, there are definitely going to be people on one side or the other. It's very black and white. You're either going to love that exposure and want to feel like you can share that moment, not just with your personal friends and family, but there's like that extra, we're giving this to the world kind of aspect about your relationship. Yeah. Or it's like, are you kidding me? This is not a TV show. Like, this is just for us and the people we've selected, like as
Yeah.
if we'd want that. I remember doing a reception, right, if you're familiar with Sydney at all, right just from the overseas passenger terminal, there's a venue called Water's Edge at Campbell Stores, which is one of the oldest venues there.
Okay.
And you've seen the whole bay go by. You can see the Sydney Opera House and Sydney Harbour Bridge in the distance, right along the bay. And as I'm doing the entrance, like I made sure to incorporate like all the random people. I say, guys, you gotta go. They're ready to come out. Like you need to. So it was great, and that's what they wanted. They picked that specifically. But again, I think the ultimate goal, as you're saying, is to to pick a vibe that works for you and then let it shine.
Definitely. Picking a wedding venue would have to be, I would say, the most important decision you can make every day. It's going to set the tone for everything. Well, you might. So I think if it sets, one, budget is a massive one. It's going to determine how many people you're going to bring. It's going to determine the type of vibe, whether it is that beachside, whether it is that you're inside in a more function sort of space, or whether you're outside at a vineyard. It's going to bring a different vibe to it, and whether you're going to have public access to watch or whether it's just going to be purely friends and family, that's also going to have a massive decision as well.
Well, you said that was the most important decision. I would definitely agree. You have to have a place in order to do your wedding. But I would argue that the second most important thing to decide in a wedding is definitely about picking a celebrant. So tell me, I would like to know how to pick a celebrant, and then what actually a really good one brings. So, of course, there's over 10,000 now in the country, I believe it's just ticked over.
There could be. I don't know. I'd have to have a look. I know Easy Weddings did their little booklet out last year. I'd have to check that. There are a few. There is definitely more than 5 of us out there, and the majority of us are fantastic people. No, we are great people. And it's very generous of you to say that we would be at least the second biggest decision. The question is, what do I think is great about us? I totally forgot the question, I'll be honest.
Oh, how do we pick them? And what does a good one bring?
Well, pick one that listens. That's pretty important. You know what? I think when it comes down to it, with all vendors, check reviews first. Reviews online are pretty significant. Then I think you've got to go by vibe. You meet this person, you go, cool. The reviews are good. If you can get friends of your family, or whether you've seen them in action, even better. But check if they're the right vibe for you, because maybe they were the right vibe for your friend. Maybe your friends absolutely love them. Maybe they've got great reviews. But there's something with this person that, while they're great, they're not your person, and that's okay. And so I don't recommend seeing when you're planning a wedding, seeing 20 of every, whether it's 20 photographers, 20 celebrants, 20 cake makers. It's like pick your top 3, 5, and kind of go, these sort of fit the vibe we're after. We're going to have a chat with them. And then as you have a chat with them, then just pick one, because you can keep looking at different ones all day long. And unless those three or 5 are terrible and you're like, no, we need to look again, pick the one who you feel most comfortable with, who's going to fit your budget, because that person on the day is going to, you're trusting that person with a lot. Like they've got the microphone for that 30 minutes. They're setting the tone, whether it's going to be, that was fantastic. That was, they really just built it up. Everyone's talking about the great stories and the laughs and the tears, or they're just crying and going, I can't wait to have a drink because this is hard to watch. And that's the vibe you want to pick up on. What is this person like? Because do they make you feel comfortable? Because they're going to be standing right next to you on your wedding day. You're putting so much planning into everything. The little things, details as well, color coding bits and pieces, flowers and napkins. You kind of want the person who's got the mic, who's really helping set that tone of the day, that you're comfortable with them, that you're confident with what they're going to say, the personality, persona they're bringing.
No, it's a good point. Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's one factor in that though, because I know some people probably listening, right, going, great, we're happy with the vibe. We've made some good selections. We've got a criteria that we want to establish. But the price. And I know that we're releasing this in a time where the cost of living is still a big question on people's minds.
It is
How
massively.
what's your best advice in terms of being able to allow people to reconcile the balance between we absolutely love this person, but can we overcome perhaps what they're willing to charge in order for us to get that experience?
Well, one, you can have a conversation with them. And I have some couples who will just be very frank and go, look, we'd love to have you on the day. You don't quite fit into our budget. Is there any movement to room to move in your budget, in your price? It can't hurt to ask. It's either a yes, and these might be the slight conditions or things will change, or no, I'm sorry, this is what I know I can bring. This is the price I do it at. So that's probably one thing you could do. I think it comes down to what do you value most on your day? And I understand you've got to have a budget. And if you go back to, I'm going back to Easy Weddings because they do a lot of this study into the wedding industry. Easy Weddings talk about how most couples will start at about roughly a sort of 20, that sort of think maybe around that 25, 23, 25, maybe 30. And it's normally at least another 10 grand, whatever you're budgeting, expecting, add another 10 grand on that easily. That might be sound quite disheartening. I think you've got to just choose what's most important to you. And that's going to differ from couple to couple. Some are going to go, you know what? And I get this. For some, the ceremony part and the celebrant part, for them, it's not that important. And like, okay, cool. You just don't, that's not where you put your value at. But for them, maybe it's the band. They just want to kill a band because they want to dance that night and they want a live band. And that's what they see as truly important. Amazing. Yeah. I think that depending on the tone that you want to bring and how at comfort and at ease you want your friends and family to feel, that is where I would place importance on those you're giving a microphone to, like your celebrant, like your MC. Because I think the person you give the microphone to is the person you're saying to your friends and family, this is the person we trust to speak and to make this day great for us. There is a lot of, sounds quite heavy, power in having a microphone.
No, you're right. Absolutely.
And it's a lot of, so I think there's a lot of responsibility given to those who are willing to take it, which is why for those who do it really well, will charge more because they're confident. They know that what they're going to bring, they know the value they're going to bring to your day. And that's not just for that day. And here's where I try to help maybe ease the suffering of sometimes weddings being a large budget. What you're creating on that day are memories for yourself and memories for your friends and family, where they're going to come back and they're going like, do you remember when this happened? Do you remember when that was said? Do you remember what this felt like? Because not necessarily everything will be remembered with what was said, maybe some key things, but particularly how someone makes you feel. And that is the power of a great celebrant or MC, how they make your friends and family feel, what they bring with that. That is, that's massive.
No, and I totally agree. Yeah. My Uncle Ben told me that with great power comes great responsibility. And so I completely understand that at the end of the day, when you get that microphone, sorry, I had to do it. When you have that microphone in hand, there is an authority that comes with it. I sort of echo what you described to when I mentioned to my couples, and that the conversation comes up about, okay, well, I asked them specifically, what do you want someone like an MC to bring? And, just as much as I'm discovering who their celebrant choice is, so I'm able to then also subliminally behind the scenes figure out, also what they're going for. And it's the one thing actually that we can't give until the day it happens. We're one of the very few select numbers of vendors at an event where we deal with the intangibles up until the very day, and then we're providing the product, as opposed to a photographer who says, look, this is my portfolio, it'll look like this just with your face on it. And you're like, okay, I like that, I buy that. Whereas there's no sense, even no matter videos, whatever, we can't feel that, they can't feel that until on the day. So I think yeah, I totally resonate with that. And it's important to establish that there is a lot of power that comes with that. A lot of some of the worst case stories you and I have probably heard online or otherwise on TikTok videos have come from a lacking of a celebrant and or an MC who has failed, a strong word, lacked the ability to command the power and authority that comes along
Yeah.
with that moment. So, yeah.
I'm just reminded of a story I heard just last week from a couple, and they're like, like, tell me about, like, what do you want? Like, what's the vibe you're going for? Tell me what you want. And they're talking. It's like, oh, I want relaxed and lighthearted. And they go, oh, do you remember that wedding we went to? Like, yeah. She just started yelling at people, telling them. She asked them a few times, like, could you please sit down? And then she started like yelling. And I'm like, wow. I go, well, I can pretty much guarantee you I won't be yelling at everyone, because that's not the tone I want to bring. And I think that if you're having to yell at people, you've failed at what you're there to do. You can there's a million ways you can say the same thing. Maybe not a million, that's too many, but you can definitely ask something of friends and family or get the best response from them in a really genuine, nice way. I think as well, when you give someone a microphone, you want someone who is really adaptable. Things happen, particularly in ceremonies. Things happen during the reception and the evening that you just can't plan for. You really need to plan for that. And when I just sort of do, if there's a top tip that I'd give for weddings, is like, once you do all your planning and once you do a great job of it, you've really got to let it go. And you just sort of release your hands from it and go, I've booked the people and they're professionals. This is what they do. They're going to do their best to give me the wedding that I want. And I now, the days it's gonna carry out how it carries out. I've had multiple times in ceremonies, rings just not be there. Someone's forgotten to bring the rings. And I had something that it was Nick who posted something on his Instagram about a wedding we did last year, and the couple forgot the rings, and he was like, Pete handled it perfectly. And I'll be honest, I don't remember what I said, but I've dealt with those moments before. And it's about, because I guess I've done it a few times, I can be flexible. It's like, I don't freak out and go, oh no, it's ruined this moment. It's just like, you roll with it, you work with it. There was one same experience. They'd forgotten the rings, and I'd look back at the couple, and I saw them out the side of my eye, and I could tell that something was wrong. And they were sort of concerned and talking amongst themselves, and I'm just sharing their story. And in my head, I'm going, did I say something wrong? Did I say someone's name wrong? Did I? And then I see the brother of the groom just bolt from the very front row, bolt towards their house, private property. There's probably about 150 people there. And I picked up and I go, they've forgotten the rings. And I just said, I just started, this is actually recorded. I've got the video on my Instagram. Something about, like, we have definitely not forgotten the rings. He's just running towards the house for another reason. I'm like, no, we've forgotten them. Like, check everything, check every drawer. And I waffled, honestly, but it made, for them that day, that memory for them is incredible. So for an MC as well, reception, Nathan, you know this, things don't go to time. Things happen. Things get really pushed back late. Things get pulled forward for different reasons. Whether the photographer and that come back with them a little bit late for the reception, so it means the starting's a little bit late, or maybe they're early, ready to go, or speeches. Someone who's supposed to do a 2-minute speech went for 15 minutes, and now you're like, cool. And you've got to adapt with that. And things happen as well, like when you're transitioning from when you would introduce people from speeches, and that it's not just cool, thank you, maid of honor. Now I've got best man, let's welcome him. Like, you've got something that you're going to riff off from what the maid of honor just shared to introduce, because those little things is what make that day seamless and make it flow. So having someone who's flexible is
absolutely
important.
And someone can connect those dots throughout the day
Yes.
seamlessly is
Yeah.
essentially, the key. And of course, we deal in all of the, you and I are, and others in our craft are experts at the adaptability, flexibility, and
Hmm.
improvisational sort of aspect of everything.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
one more question before we might have to wrap up very shortly. But I could talk for hours with you though. Is something more planned is their
Hmm.
vows. So,
Yes.
what give us a sort of a brief outline of sort of what you
Sure.
run through a couple, and like just how to put them at ease at something that is much more prepared than everything
Mhm.
else that happens on the day, and how they can really nail it.
Okay. Well, I'm going to give you advice that another celebrant gave me on my podcast, and this changed everything for me in terms of talking about. I give my couples examples, like pages of examples of what they could do. But this formula right here is going to change everything for writing vows. So
All right.
I owe this to Teddy, who's a celebrant all the way in Canada. Here it is. Okay. Past, present, future, and I promise. So the past. And think of this as this is your starting block. This doesn't have to be where you finish, but this is great for people who are like, I don't know where to begin. Start with the past. What did you first like about this person? What did you first fall in love with? What was that first thing? Did they say something? Did they do something? Did you maybe, was there something that you disliked them about the start that you want to start with a bit of humor at that? Like one night happened on the weekend. He said, "Thank you for marrying me, even though you first thought I was a wanker." Like that, and that was part of their story as well. Like start with that. That's okay. Be real.
They're the best.
Present. What do you presently love, enjoy, relish, cherish, uh, get annoyed by, frustrated by about your relationship? Don't get too heavy in the frustrations, but maybe a little quirk here or there. It could be funny. You might add some humor, particularly if that's the type of couple you are. That's important to touch on, like who you are right now as a couple. Future. What are you looking forward to? What do you see as a couple? Do you see a family? Do you see? Are you already like? Have you already been? Do you have established families and you're a little bit further on in life? And this is now what you're looking forward to is enjoying the last couple of years, going on cruises together. Like why not? And then promises, which essentially is exactly what vows are. What are you promising to each other? So I think of the past, present, future as this is almost you're stepping up to the I promise rather than going bang straight into it. You're giving it some background, and then you're going, this is what I'm promising to you in our marriage. This is my commitment to you. So I recommend start with that. It's going to really help. And then you don't have to stay with that. You might then take little bits, pieces. Geez, you might even throw that into Chat GPT and see what it comes up with. But I think honestly, go with something that feels genuine. I have no problem with people using ChatGPT, but don't leave it there. Don't just cut and paste
Enter, done.
Yeah. It's like it's not going to be great, and people will know. Take it and then run with it, and it's like, well, how do I be genuine? Well, if you're a funny person, be funny in your vows. Like, don't all of a sudden go serious and really heartfelt if that's not who you are. And again, if you are really heartfelt, you don't need to go and be really funny. That's not what this is about. It's about being who you are, true in that moment. Essentially, it is you're sharing what you're promising to each other. But I think that formula helps pad and make it a little bit more flow, a little bit more easier. So, and I guess in terms of, if you want to think of numbers, think of either 3 to 5 I promises. There's something within that number that just seems to work. Yeah.
I love it. That is such a great, simple skeleton that people can follow with. I really hope that people are taking notes, both industry and couples alike who are listening right now, because that I know, look, as somebody who hears it all the time at a reception, about speeches, right? Oh, I'm so nervous. I want to get it over and done with. And I get all that. Like it's 75% of the people would rather die than do a speech. So I can completely understand the exposure that comes from doing it. It's commendable that, the very first thing, one of the first things you're doing on the day before you get to the party and then make another speech you don't want to do is to make a really raw romantic gesture towards your partner you're about to sign your life away to in a very nice way, of course. And so because of that, it's having that structure behind as a skeleton is really crucial. So that's an amazing tip. That's one of the best things I've heard in a very long time. So thank you.
I wish I could say
I
created it, but I run with it. I give Teddy full credit. But it's incredible advice. It's done all my couples incredible justice. So take that and let it make your vows great.
Love it. Well, we've actually officially run out of time, which is really sad because I do enjoy our chats. But I would love people to know more about how to get in contact with you. Also, feel free to let us know about your podcast more and how they can also get in touch with that to get to know you better. And of course, all the other great insights that are available on your show as well.
Yeah. Well, I have the Wedding Guide podcast. You can check that out. We are on all the streaming platforms, just as planned weddings. You can find me at petethecelebrant.com.au. You can find me on Instagram, Pete the Celebrant. If you just type in Pete the Celebrant, you'll find me.
Awesome. I love that. So simple. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, Pete, take care of yourself. I know you guys have been having some extraordinarily wild weather there. What was it? 36 degrees and hailstones. That is nuts.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was like almost 40 degrees, and then it suddenly just started to rain and wind and bending power towers. Jeez. Crazy times.
Well, take care of yourselves down there. Thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your insights.
Great. Thanks for having me, Nathan. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Just As Planned Wedding podcast. Please like and subscribe to let me know that you want more videos just like this one. And of course, please follow us on our socials at Just As Planned Wedding on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube for more expert insights to help your wedding go just as planned.